Recessions give birth to millionaires, and it all starts with exactly the same thing: saving more money. Saving money shouldn't just be something you do when you want to buy some new clothes or a new iPhone. In fact, the greatest reason to save money is for no reason at all. This is a lesson that can be found in the book The Psychology of Money, which is probably one of the best personal finance books of all time. Now, I understand not everyone is a natural saver. In fact, myself, I'm a natural spender. Rewind to first year university, I was spending more money than I even had. But from those mistakes, I've been able to shift myself to a natural saver, and I'm going to explain how you can do the exact same thing too. Here's the problem. Most UK households by the end of the month don't have 2 nickels to rub together. In fact, Hargreaves Lansdown found that 51% of households don't have an emergency fund of £250. And considering we're getting very, very close to recession and interest rate hikes seem to be never ending, inflation isn't cooling down anytime soon, having £250 is not enough to protect yourself. And even if you want to be able to build wealth through this recession, £250 will not suffice. So in this video, I'm going to go over 2 separate ways, one of which is how we can shift our emotions and be able to use them to save more money, which by far is the most important out of everything I'll say today. And number 2 is a practical approach you can take right now with certain products that will help you save more money. So step 1, what is the first step to saving more money? We need to understand what we're spending our money on. This could be clothes, this could be nights out, this could be technology, this could even be food, which was a big thing for me, and I'm going to explain exactly how you can deal with that. Now, if you're stuck with this, simply you can download some of the apps that are available now. These will help you categorize your spending, but many different apps will help you do this, and even, to be honest with you, just thinking about it, you should probably be able to demonstrate why you're spending so much money and what you're spending money on. The reason you need to know this is because we need to establish some building blocks to build your financial personality on. You can't build a house without a foundation, the same as we can't build an amazing financial personality without the basic frameworks. Step 2. Now, this is the most important part of the video, so please just listen for 30 seconds and I'll demonstrate why you can't achieve your saving goals. See, we as humans are emotional creatures, which means all of our decisions are nurtured by emotion. We don't like taking risks unnecessarily, and our emotions tell us not to do it because we've already got a safe amount of income. The same as humans are greedy. We like to spend money we don't have in hopes of respect from other people. However, most of the time, what we fail to realize is that people are just respecting the things we bought and not the person themselves. So anyway, let's say from stage 1, you found out that you're spending so much money on clothes, or physical items at least. If this is the case, chances are you're an impulsive spender, which, don't worry, I was too, and it is actually quite easy to deal with. So imagine you walk into a shop, you pick up a nice item and you look at it, right? So these are the 3 steps I follow to basically put the item down and say, no, I don't need it and I don't want it. So number 1, I look at the item and I say, am I picturing a false reality? I know this sounds weird, so hold on a second, but when we pick up an item, our brain likes to wonder and think about all these amazing things we would be with this item. It pictures us as a new personality. If you've just got a new job in finance, maybe you want to buy clothes to match it, or even law, or you get the point. So if you ever find yourself doing this, just ground yourself and say that no matter what, reality is always going to be more dull than what's in my head. Number 2, I don't always utilize this trick, but I have done in the past, and it's very simple. Essentially, if I pick up an item, I look at the price. Once I know the price, I go onto Google and I type in compound interest calculator. I'll then fill out the boxes with the price, and let's say it will be 30 years with a 10% return. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I'm trying to compare what my money would be like in the S&P 500 over an X amount of years. If the value is too much to lose, I simply put the item down and I can even invest that money into the S&P. And then I know on average, potentially I'll have this amount of money in this amount of time. And number 3, this is the most important thing for impulsive spending on physical items, is you need to question, is it an impulsive move? If it's an impulsive move, put the item down, leave it. You don't need it. If you didn't come in for the item, if you didn't come in for the category of item, put it down, you don't need it. Impulsive spending is where so many people are going to mess up and they're going to spend so much money, but it can all be avoided. You just need to learn to recognize when impulsive spending has happened and utilize those emotions. Okay, now let's say in step 1, you found out that you're spending a fortune on food. Once I learned these 2 tips, it really helped me out. It allowed me to save more money and finally kind of reach this saving kind of personality that I have now. So it's important to mention the reason food is a lot more difficult than a normal piece of clothing or technology or physical item, because food entails the emotion of fear. Now this goes a little bit primitive, but essentially our ancestors, when they used to hunt for food, didn't know when their next meal would be. So our brain subconsciously told them to eat then and there because we don't know when their next meal's coming. Back then we had to hunt for food, and now we have debit cards. So a lot has changed. However, our subconscious mind has pretty much stayed the same. So here's what I learned to kind of mitigate and deal with this issue. So the first thing is cut it out altogether by eating before you go out. Trust me, having some sort of large meal or really fatty meal would keep your hunger way down, and it will allow you to go on and enjoy your time without spending money on food. And even if it doesn't, it will allow you to mitigate your hunger, so when you do want to buy something, you'll buy something smaller. Number 2, have you ever heard the expression, don't ever go food shopping on an empty stomach? Yeah, that. See, we as humans always believe that we can eat more than we actually can. Simply learning that we don't need to eat this much stuff will also save you a fortune. Remember, industries and corporations love to make you spending, and they spend billions and billions of pounds to try and convince you to buy more and more and more. You need to learn to shut that stuff out. Now we talked about the kind of emotions when it comes to spending. Now let's talk about the practical things, the things you can do right now. I'm going to give you 2 accounts. Number 1, a fixed notice account, and number 2 is a fixed access account. Now essentially what a fixed notice account is you have to give a certain amount of notice before you can access the money in that account. Most banks will have it. Go ahead onto your bank's website, have a little look and see if you can find any. They usually offer better interest rates than a normal bank account. And the good thing about the notice account is it completely blocks out impulsive spending, because if you have to give a week's notice, you see an item and go, oh, I really like that item, you're not going to have the money accessible to get that item, because you're going to have to give a notice period that may last a week or a month before that bank even lets you access that money. Now it's important to note, if you're trying to set up an emergency fund, do not go for a notice account, because if you need that money there and then liquid, you need to go for a fixed access account, which essentially will allow you to access it instantly, but only about 3 times a year, or 4 times or 5 times a year. Now, if you want to make a little bit of money on top of these, because inflation is so high, bank accounts are pretty worthless at this. Here's what you can do. Set up either a stocks and shares ISA or a cash ISA. Now with stocks and shares ISA, of course it's investing, so you could potentially lose money, and you need to learn the basics and the fundamentals of investing. But if you want to go for a slightly less risky option, then go for a cash ISA. These things are amazing. They will offer you a high interest rate and your money will be tax-free. And here's lesson 2. When I was 17 years old, I read this book, and essentially it's one of the greatest personal finance books you can probably get, and it's very well known. One of the lessons in it is called Pay Yourself First. And essentially what he goes on to say is that it's important, once you get a paycheck, to lock that money away in an investment account, in a savings account, whatever you want, because once it's locked away, you can't spend it.